Once again, you are welcome to this channel. I hope this may be your first day of visiting this channel, but I beg of you to subscribe, share, and like this video. Today, under circle theorems, we would like to look at same chord or arc subtending angles at the center and the circumference of a circle, and this would be the part 1. Look at this beautiful circle you see on your screen. We have an arc below, and also we have the chord YD. Subtending angles at the center, YID, and at the circumference, YJD. For the sake of this lesson, knowing that the angles can subtend on a chord or arc, I would like to take the chord out. I am going to move angle YJD and place it on angle YID. So look at whatever happens critically, and you write down your observations if you have your pens and pencils with you. What do you see? I hope you recorded that angle EJD occupies half of angle EID, meaning that when we have two of angle EJD, they would cover angle EID perfectly without seeing any part of it appearing on your screen. Let me go back. Let me move this, the angle at the circumference, and let's see if the same thing you observe will take place. Okay. Yes, I hope you still see that angle EJD occupies half of angle EID. Let's keep on moving. Okay, now line JD is passing through the diameter of the circle, and let us see what happens if that too would be different or same. Good. You can see that it still covers half of the angle at the center. So let us keep on moving. I want us to observe so many things so that when you see different diagrams in exams, you wouldn't be confused at all. Look at this. Look at that. Beautiful. Have you seen that angle EJD still covers half of the angle at the center? Let's keep on moving. Now, let's move it. Beautiful. You see that it still covers half of the angle at the center. Let me move to the other side, the right hand side of it, else you may say that that is different. Observe whatever happens. You can record them. Good. It still covers half of the angle at the center. Let's see what happens here. We can see that angle EJD still covers half of angle EID. Let's move it for the last time. Okay, I am moving it. It still covers half of angle EID. But in essence, looking at how small you think the angle here at the circumference you see is very small, you may think that that same thing doesn't happen. But let me tell you that provided the angle, one of them is at the center and one of them is at the circumference, the same thing happens. What happens is that the angle at the circumference, it would be half of angle at the center, and the angle at the center would be 2 times the angle at the circumference. So let's move it back to where we were. Okay. Now, 2 things happen. One of them is that we can say angle EID, that is the angle at the center of the circle, is 2 times angle EJD, that is the angle at the circumference. And the other thing, or the other equation that can come out, is that angle EJD is half of angle EID. That is, the angle at the circumference is half of the angle at the center. And by moving the angle at the circumference onto the angle at the center, you all observe that that is true. So the property states that the angle formed at the center, in this case the angle formed at the center is EID, is twice the size of the angle at the circumference. The angle at the circumference here is EJD, and that 2 times of that would give us the angle at the center. And that is what the property is saying. Subtended by the same chord or arc, we can see that these 2 angles at the center and at the circumference subtend on the same chord and on the same arc. So that is the property and its meaning. Now, knowing this, let's move on to solve questions so that we can apply what we have learned here to those questions. So have what we have learned here in mind. Let's move on to the questions. Question 1. Find the value of angle S degrees of the circle with center of A below. Now let us all solve it together. But you can also choose to pause the video, you calculate, and you compare your answer with that of mine. To solve this, we know from the property that angle at the center is twice the angle at the circumference. So from that we can say that angle BAC is equal to 2 times angle BDC, as you see on the screen. So we substitute the value for angle BDC, which is 41 degrees, into the equation above, and we get S degrees is equal to 2 times 41 degrees, and at the end S degrees is equal to 82 degrees. Therefore, we can say that S degrees is equal to 82 degrees, and that is our final answer. That is what the question demands. Let's move on to the next question. Question number 2. O is the center of the circle below. Find the values of x and y. Like the first question, we have angle at the center and we have 2 angles at the circumference. We know that from the property, since all the 3 angles, the one at the center and the 2 at the circumference, are all subtended by the same arc, the angles at the circumference may be the same, and the angles at the circumference are half of the angle at the center. So let's do that. From the property, we can say that x is equal to half of angle SOT. Likewise, we can also say that y is equal to half of angle SOT, but I chose x. So let's move on. By substitution, we can say that s is equal to half times 120 degrees, and therefore s is equal to 60 degrees. But from the property, we know that x is equal to y, and therefore we compete by saying that y is also equal to 60 degrees. Now our question number 3. O is the center of the circle below. Find the value of angle SOT. Angle SOT. But before we can find angle SOT, we should first of all find a way of getting the value of x, and then everything would be simple. So what must we do? Always don't forget what the property says. If you forget it, then you can never apply what you have learned to solve such questions. So from the property, we know that angle SOT, which is the angle at the center, is equal to multiplying the angle at the circumference by 2, which is angle SQT, and that is what you see on the screen. So by substitution, angle SOT is x plus 50 all degrees equal to 2 times angle SQT, and angle SQT is bracket open 2 plus x all degrees. So what we must do is to expand, and we get x plus 50 is equal to 2 times 2 would give us 4, and 2 times x would give us 2x. Now what we must do is to group like terms. To group like terms, we know that we have 50 here, and if we want the 50 to be at the right hand side, because the 50 is positive, we add its additive inverse, which is negative 50, to both sides of the equation, not only one side. That's why we see minus 50 here, and after the equal to sign we see minus 50 here. Now we can also see that 2s is positive, and since we want it to be at the left hand side, we must add the additive inverse of 2x, and that would be negative 2x. So that's why we see minus 2x at the right hand side and minus 2s at the left hand side. Because it is equation, it must be done to both sides of the equation. And from that, x minus 2x will give us negative x. Positive 50 minus 50 would be 0. Then equal to, we bring our equal to. 4 minus 50 would give us negative 46. Positive 2s minus 2s would be 0. Now, negative s is equal to negative 46. But we want to find x. And now we have the coefficient being negative 1. So if the coefficient of s is negative 1, we must divide both sides of the equation by negative 1, or we multiply both sides of the equation by negative 1. But here we decided to divide through by negative 1, and then we get s is equal to 46. But the question says that we should find angle SOT. If we know the value of x, then what we must do is to substitute that into angle SOT is equal to s plus 50 all degrees, so that when in place of x we put 46, we get 46 plus 50, and that would give us 96, meaning that angle SOT is equal to 96 degrees. And then we are done with what the question is demanding for. Let us look at the assignment. O is the center of the circle below. Find the values of y and x. That's a very beautiful question for all my viewers. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. If today is the day if today is the first day of you visiting this channel, I beg of you to subscribe to this channel, and this would help you to learn at your own pace. I hope you are done with the answers to this assignment. Let's see. Our s value is equal to 110 degrees and y is equal to 55 degrees. Well done. for being able to answer this question correctly. May God be with you till we meet again on this same platform another day. Bye.